And welcome back to another episode, another week indeed of the Damage Report. It's Monday and it's already looking like it's going to be fantastic. Francesca Fiorentini, how's it going?
Buongiorno, tutti sta prendido frego. I don't know what I'm saying, but I tried to. Anyway, I don't speak Italian. Good morning, what's going on? Happy Monday.
You don't speak much of it, although you are Italian. I found out this morning that your birth name was Giuseppe.
Oh, Giuseppe
cool.
Fiorentini. Yeah, I changed it to Francesca. It's easier than Giuseppe.
Yeah, it's probably a good call. So look, we have a lot of news that we're gonna talk about and we're gonna get to that. I'm just gonna quickly say, just because everything's falling apart, I'm not gonna pretend that it's not. I don't know what the minutes leading up to Anderson Cooper are like, or what Don Lemon is doing 3 minutes out. But man, it's weird here. I'm spilling coffee all over the studio by myself. We're talking about stuff that probably they're not on Cuomo.
They definitely are. I think it's whatever you're doing, they're doing 10 times worse. They're just, you remember Lawrence O'Donnell yelling, "Stop the hammering." It's just that. It's just a lot of ego.
I vaguely do, yeah.
It's a lot of yelling at producers.
Yeah, that's true. I try not to do that. Although maybe it's fun, maybe I should try. Okay, so very glad to have you here because we are entering into the 2 weeks before election week. And I don't know what to do or say because it's so big and there's so much riding on it. And I know that there's things that because of the platform that we have, and obviously we have people, both of us, that care about what we think, like we gotta do right by them in this last critical period leading up to what could become one of the most monumentous political weeks of our lives. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, Francesca. Perhaps we can figure something out. I know we're gonna be talking about California ballot initiatives at some point later on this week. I'm hoping to get Anna on. I was gonna do it with Brett, but I think that we would disagree too much and I just can't take that right now. I don't wanna know which way we disagree.
Gonna get like a long argument about stem cell.
I don't know. I don't wanna do it. But anyway, I know you just had your show last night, the Bitchuation Room. Yes. 2 weeks out from the election, what's the Bitchuation Room about?
Bitchuation Room is always about laughing in end times. So definitely trying to find some humor in all of this, but also some political strategy. So we had organizer Joshua Kahn Russell on, who's working with Choose Democracy, which is one of the many organizations that's trying to game out what if Trump doesn't leave office, and what would that require of us? What would that require of us in our roles as whatever we are, whether we're teachers or bus drivers or tech workers or whatever our chosen profession is, mothers, fathers, like we will need a massive amount of resistance, and we will need to deny the legitimacy of whatever the coup plotters are claiming. And this is the moment we're in. So it's kind of like it's time to not be so Pollyanna with America's a great democracy and we'll pull through. Like we know after 4 years of watching the Democrats try to rein this president in and the Republicans going along with whatever he does, that we can't count on our politicians anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And we really need to get past this like weird obsession with like being great and we're great or we're unprecedented. I'm not interested in any of that. Here's what America is, all I've got. So I'm gonna make it as good as I can. I don't care what it is or what it was. I care about what it hypothetically could be, although that's a shifting target. But anyway, we do have news that we have to get to, obviously. Thank you to everybody who's already joining us, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube or other platforms I may not even know about. Thank you for being there. You can chat with us. You can send us super chats and things like that. We'll respond as we go along. Please hit the like button and share the stream if you haven't already. Oh, and by the way, not only do we have an Instagram where you'd find out about the thing I'm just about to say, Instagram.com/thedamagereport. Many of you were very enthusiastic about the launch of the first 2 t-shirt designs for the Damage Report. And I've now got my first one in person. This is the first ever Damage Report shirt available now. Will it be available next week? Probably, but not forever. And this is a piece of history, as well as the first Dragon Squad shirt. I'll be wearing that tomorrow, which I love. Francesca, you had predictions about what effect it could have on people's social lives. I think it's moving things up. I feel like a more confident me in the dragon shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe that says more about me than the shirt. I don't know.
I love them both. I take back whatever I said. If you know, you know, and it's great. Someone will recognize and be like, ah, and we all love that moment.
Exactly. Imagine the first time you see someone else in the wild from Dragon Squad. Anyway, with that, let's get into the news because there's so much that we got to talk about, and some of it is unfortunate, but it's sort of our job, so we're gonna do it.
Let's go.
There have already been a few October surprises. The big one that was planned by Donald Trump's extended goon squad was the Hunter Biden thing. And that thing is a lot of different things. Nobody really seems to know, but the New York Post was sure that it was something. And so they took this story given to them literally by Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon and just said, let's run with it. And it turns out that might not have been the best choice because follow-up reporting of the process that eventually resulted in this big New York Times Hunter Biden thing is showing that there might have been a few problems with it. So let's go through a little bit of what was sort of an issue with that story's publication. The New York Post front page article about Hunter Biden last Wednesday was written mostly by a staff reporter who it turns out refused to put his own name on it, according to 2 New York Post employees. This is Bruce Golding, a reporter that's been there since 2007, didn't allow his byline to be used because he had concerns over the article's credibility. Remember, the article he had just written. And by the way, all of these sources are anonymous because they're worried about retaliation, which they definitely should be. So the article suggested that Joe Biden had used his position to enrich his son Hunter when he was vice president. The Post based the story on photos and documents the paper said was taken from the hard drive of a laptop reportedly belonging to Hunter Biden. And if you haven't been following this, that's good for your sanity. Effectively, the story is that Hunter Biden apparently decided to go to a tiny little laptop repair store that isn't anywhere near where he lives. And he gave them a laptop with a bunch of sensitive material on it and then just never went back and got it again. Maybe that's a thing. There's other issues, but Francesca, this is the first that we're talking about this story on the channel. We're gonna go to some more of the credibility issues, but what's your thinking about this so far?
I mean, this story broke, I believe, on the same night and the same day of the dueling town halls. And I saw some mainstream outlets like MSNBC try to make it an issue. And immediately the first line is found in pawn shop, left by Hunter Biden. And you're like, okay, this is fake. Like, what is this? And even if it were real, it definitely wasn't found in a pawn shop. So my initial reaction was, are we really doing this again? Like, are we actually going to uncritically accept some random ridiculous story about yet more hacked emails, right? Like, okay, here we go, like clockwork. So I was really disappointed in it, and I'm happy now that we're learning a little bit more of the context about how it came about.
Yeah, exactly. And look, you've already given the, I guess, the caveat. I'll give the caveat too. If it's real, here's the thing. Like the WikiLeaks emails back in 2016 were real. As far as we know, every single one of them was authentic. Hypothetically, something could come out of them that would be really devastating. But we do need to understand the meta media narrative of there being a lot of a thing that you keep rolling out a little bit at a time of, which, remember, like, I haven't said anything about the substance of whatever the hypothetical I'm talking about is, but doesn't it seem like there's something? There's a lot of it, and now there's a little bit more coming out, and that's what happened with WikiLeaks. You know, people rolled out one email a day for literally months, got a bunch of like views, and Fox News loved it. So that's happening now for this too, with Fox News, like taking each of the individual new emails that come out that like are like text conversations between Hunter and Joe, where Joe says that he loves him or something, and it's very scandalous, and it's very shocking.
That are like really moving, like Hunter Biden texting his dad from rehab, being like, "I've ruined your campaign. I'm so sorry." This is obviously like a year ago, and then his dad just waking up being like, "Good morning, son. I love you, and I miss you a lot." You know, like, oh my God, yeah. This is supposed to be damning to Joe Biden, okay? Because I think it somehow makes me like him, and I'm not totally not that person to fall for the decency thing. But anyway, it makes me like, oh God, Dad, you know, Dad.
I think that some people some people feel freed up to want to pretend that there's more than there isn't because, hey, it's okay to attack Joe because he's up by so much. Or like, oh God, like we've been so critical of Trump, we gotta find something to be critical of. Here's the thing, there's well-established historical things about Joe Biden have a problem with that we've talked about literally ad nauseum. We're not under any sort of obligation to pretend that nonsense is more serious than it is. Like if you wanna zoom out 500 miles, do I think that Joe Biden has done things to benefit his family? Probably. I assume all of them do because they're politicians. They're not my buddy. I don't play Fortnite with them. We don't have that sort of relationship. I'm very critical of them, but also understand that this isn't the first pass we're taking at the Ukraine thing. There's been any number of different Senate investigations and House investigations and all that stuff. Honestly, I don't know how they haven't found more because there's gotta be something there. But what I don't think is there is probably anything found in a blind guy's pawn shop. It just doesn't make sense. And it's gonna make even less sense as we go through a bit more of the caveats. But before we do that, anything more on this?
I mean, I think once again, we have to, from as progressives, as people on the left, remember the moment that we're in, remember the stakes, and also remember, like, let's not wake up and do what mainstream media does and wake up sort of a fresh little baby every day that's forgotten everything and has forgotten that this president was impeached for trying to solicit Ukraine by withholding funds, right? Like to that country to be like, no, give me a little bit more on Hunter Biden. Like, are we that dumb that now, 7 months later, when like somehow miraculously a pawn shop has found a few emails, we'll be like, oh, there it was. And it's like, no, y'all, like let's remember what's going on. Let's remember the reality here.
Well, that seems reasonable, but the whole Ukraine thing was a long time ago. What the Democrats should have done is really drive it into people's consciousness, like by maybe impeaching the president over literally this thing. But no, still people can't remember it. But anyway, okay, more on issues with the New York Post reporting. So this is according to the New York Times reporting. Many Post staff members questioned whether the paper had done enough to verify the authenticity of the hard drive's contents. This is according to 5 people with knowledge of the tabloid's inner workings. I love that the New York Times just calls it a tabloid there, that's funny. Staff members also had concerns about the reliability of its sources and its timing. Okay, so timing is 2.5 weeks out from an election. That seems like kind of an issue. Sources, Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani. I mean, like which is worse? The one guy facing federal charges and who's a white nationalist goon, or the big drunk who might or might not literally be a vampire? I don't know, but those are among the 2 less credible sources. Rudy Giuliani's 2 Ukrainian friends, I would trust more.
I'm going with vampire drunk on that, right? Like if you had to pick,
I think I'd trust Bannon more.
No, because there's too much writing. There's too much in it for Bannon, but like vampire drunk just like wants to get effed up and like hang upside down, and like do a kegger. Like that dude has less to like. There's fewer stakes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going with vampire drunk on this. But poll, I'm gonna poll in the chat.
Let's do that. Who do you trust more?
1 for Bannon, 2 for Giuliani. White supremacist under federal indictment, vampire drunk number 2.
Okay, there is nothing I love more than the fact that you are not only calling for a poll, but you did it the way we do it, the 1s and 2s. I love it.
I know.
Let's see what we got.
It's like I do this show every Monday.
You do. I'm seeing some 3s and 4s. What the hell, people? What the hell? 2 is Giuliani, right?
Yeah.
I think 3 is beating 1, let alone 2. 2 is definitely beating 1. I see a couple 1s. Okay, I've been overruled. Okay, people trust the guy who can't go into the sun more than the guy who looks like he like floated for weeks on a raft in the Pacific Ocean. But anyway, there are other problems with this story. So here we go. Listen to Giuliani. Mr. Giuliani said he chose the Post because, quote, either nobody else would take it, or if they took it, they would spend all the time they could to try to contradict it before they put it out. Which is a funny way to say, check if it's true. Anyway, so that's sort of giving the game away. As the deadline approached, editors pressed staff members to add their bylines to the story. Let's pause there for a second. We'll come back to that graphic in a second. if the editors are having to try to push people into putting their names on a story, maybe the story's not credible. Maybe it's not. Anyway, and at least one, aside from Mr. Golding, refused. So Mr. Golding is the one who actually wrote it. He refused to have his name on it. Someone else refused. A Post spokeswoman had no comment on how the article was written or edited, although we already understand quite a bit of it. Now, it did in the end have 2 bylines. The article appeared Wednesday with 2. Emma Jo Morris, a deputy politics editor who joined the paper after 4 years at Fox News. Ms. Morris did not have a bylined article in the Post before Wednesday. That was her first one.
Wow.
She arrived at the Post in April after working as an associate producer on Sean Hannity's Fox News show, according to a LinkedIn profile. Her Instagram account, which was set to private on Wednesday, and here's why, included photos of her posing with the former Trump administration members, Mr. Bannon and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, as well as Roger Stone Jr., a friend and former campaign advisor to Mr. Trump. So 2 names. The first one literally just stopped working at Fox News for Sean Hannity, an unofficial advisor to the Trump campaign, and routinely parties with Steve Bannon and Roger Stone. The other name, Gabrielle Fonrouge, found out her byline was on the story only after it was published.
Jesus. I mean, just generally, if for those journalists there, people know how journalism sort of works. Usually when you work on a story, you want your name on it. You're proud of it. Hey, if it is, a true story, if it really is credible, if it has potential to shape the election and inform the American public, you'd want your name on that, right? I mean, in 2016, people jumped over themselves to put their name on things. It didn't matter really what it was about. I mean, it was, but like, again, part of me is like, is this because they don't want to face the backlash? No, it's not. It's because the only person who did want their name on is totally part of the Trump clique, and the poor other person didn't know until they saw the actual article printed. I mean, it's thin, it's paper thin, and it's ridiculous. And I'm sad actually that some journalists sort of started to fall for it last week, and I'm glad they kind of pulled back from the brink, because again, we could have been in another sort of Comey-esque Hillary's email situation.
And that is the perfect example. I have been so worried that the media is gonna be like, because most of the media doesn't like Trump, obviously, we get that. But we also know who they are, that they're gonna be watching week after week as the polls are still consistent with Biden having a lead, and they're gonna be like, I needs me some drama, there's gotta be something. I wanna show how objective I am. But thankfully, they haven't totally gone in for it yet. There's still time. And they're definitely going to have a day or two of going in for it when Trump announces next Wednesday that there's a vaccine that's imminently available. So get ready for that, that's gonna be fun. But anyway, yeah, thankfully, people, other than the New York Post, people are approaching this with quite a bit of skepticism, which is deserved, considering the timing, the sources, and also factoring in the stakes. But let's turn to one other quick aspect. In the weeks leading up to the election, we not only have election-related news about Hunter Biden coming out in the New York Post, but we also have just Pizzagate 2.0 effectively. I saw this tweet from Ben Collins who says there's a straight-up plagiarized Pizzagate rumor going around Twitter tonight. It's incredibly specific, and they just replaced Hillary Clinton with Hunter Biden, literally no variation. That's not the issue. The issue is the second part of the tweet, 14,000 retweets in less than 2 hours. They're just running it back, no changes from 2016. And I will say, I'm gonna show you a tweet. I don't know if this is the one he's talking about, but I hope that it is, because otherwise there's 2 of them. So Wayne Allen Root got over 20,000 retweets saying, breaking news, my sources, as high up as it gets, watched videos on Hunter's laptops today. Just told me point blank, no rumor, they saw Hunter raping and torturing little Chinese children. Chinese government has the same videos. Biden is compromised, blackmailed, can never be prez. And that was just retweeted and retweeted and retweeted, and Twitter's apparently fine with it. God only knows how much spread this sort of thing is getting on Facebook. This is just the same things they said about Hillary Clinton, they're just changing the name. But despite the supposed newfound worry about misinformation on these social media platforms, that tweet has more retweets than anything I've ever said, and it's 100% just made up by this madman.
Oh God, I mean, First of all, when you have bots, they let you do anything, and we've seen the ways that bots, there are mappings of the way bot clouds and like are able to amplify this kind of stuff. And so there's bots, and then there's idiots, and we know that fake news rises faster. Can I just say, like, the words raping and torturing Chinese children is in and of itself incredibly offensive. And just by saying that, it's like a little bit of a suggestion that that person making up that lie kind of likes that. This obsession with pedophilia that QAnon and like the extreme right and these conspiracy theorists have, like, that really reflects more on them and their interests than it does on anything that's happening in reality. They're not talking about actual sex trafficking of minors. They're not talking about the scandals in churches and dioceses around the world. No, they're not talking about the stuff that we know about. They're not talking about Jeffrey Epstein. But then you want to just say, like, raping and torturing Chinese children, like, you're sick. I'm sorry, like, that stuff is sick to me. Like, why are you amplifying that stuff? Why are you even saying it? You don't even put it in quotes. You don't even like, or you. I mean, it is. It's incredibly offensive, I think. I don't know. Am I wrong to be offended?
No, I read like the hyper focus on pedophilia to me reads like it seems like either projection or, like, honestly, and I've said this before in the show, if you can come to the point where you believe that the vast majority of people are secretly either raping children or want to rape children, that does say something about you, because I don't think people want that. I think that's a really bizarre thing to want. But some people believe, oh yeah, no, everybody wants to rape children. I don't think so. I think that you're revealing something. Now there's some people who are just, like some random suburban mom who's like, protect the kids at all costs. Okay, maybe you're afraid of everything. I get it, that's fine. Still, do you trust Wayne Allen Root? And look, that tweet, who cares? But you're gonna see more and more of this. And some of it is going to be a rando on Twitter. Some of it is gonna make it to Fox News. And so everybody needs to be on extra guard over the next few weeks against crazy nonsense intended to swing the election. I'm gonna do my best. I know Francesca will, but everybody needs to be ready for this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't make it up. We knew 2020 was gonna be bad. And just imagine our little 2016 selves being like, oh wow, 2020 is gonna really be bad when it comes to like fake news and any kind of information warfare, blah, blah, blah. And we did not see a pandemic coming at all, right? We did not see RBG dying. I mean, we did really, let's be real, but we didn't see it happening now. So it's like, let's just, take a deep breath, remember sort of where we're at, our priorities. Obviously, again, reach out to the Karens and the Kevins in your life. If you need to reel people in from the brink, contact that QAnon cousin, do what you can, let it be, don't, but like, breathe deep, and because we got to tuck in for a long winter.
Yeah, 100%. It's gonna be a rough one. Remember, even if Biden wins, even if Trump goes, we have months of unleashed Trump, who is not accountable to anything. Anyway, we've got a lot of other news. Before we get to that, I do want to read a few comments. First super chat today was from Tony Forster. If Biden wins and mandates masks, I wonder how many cops will enforce it because of the way they've been treating protesters. Yeah, that's totally true. There's gonna be a lot of mayors, potentially governors, and certainly police officers who won't abide by it. I guess it's better than nothing. Have you guys been watching how the cases have been going up over the past week? I think Iowa, is it Iowa? I could be wrong, I apologize. Don't take my word for this, but is at like a 50% positivity rate over the past week. A number of states are over 30%. Now, some like New York is down to just 3 or 4%. But it is rising rapidly in some countries, some landlocked states.
They feel like other countries.
They do sometimes. Dan Sneed says, support Michigan Senator Gary Peters. Mitch McConnell is funding our opposition, and John James has refused to debate since July, a popular tactic for incumbents both on the Republican and Democratic side. But Dan, thank you for that. Jacob Fergie says, take my money as a thank you for recommending Lovecraft Country. My girlfriend and I watched the entire season over the weekend and it was great. Also, John Oliver's Danbury, Connecticut update was hilariously perfect. I haven't watched that yet, so Francesca, you don't have to listen to me talk about John Oliver any more than I already have. But
Watch
love Country's great. Watch Newsbroke. Wait, why did you transition from Oliver to Newsbroke? What's the connection there? Rob Scheifler says the next shirt should have an image of a dragon in a baby Bjorn on the front, or on the back it would say Dragon Daddy. No.
Oh, that's so cute. See, no. that might actually do well if you're, should be like, see, I'm a DILF. All right.
I'm a D-DILF.
I'm a DD
anyway,
DILF.
I'm a D-DILF. A double DILF. Scott Langton, you make that shirt. Don't. Scott Langton says it's Monday, TDR with Franny. It's the best way to start the week. Much love from Ireland. Oh, and hi, John. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's see. Randomly, so I watched SNL this week, and randomly, just when I saw Kate McKinnon, it made me think of your Greta Thunberg impersonation. And I was like trying to find a Greta Thunberg story to put on the rundown so that you do that again. Anyway. Kelly June, thank you for gifting tier 1 sub over on Twitch. Really appreciate that. Tails as well, gifted 10. Thank you so much, Tails. Obi-Mom Kenobi gifted 1 as well. She's up to 966. Obi-Mom, pace yourself. Pace yourself. But thank you. Let's see. Spice Girl says love Franny. Very nice. Very nice. And Jess Ortega over on #TDR Live, who earlier today posted a photo on #TDR Live of herself in her TDR shirt, says, yes, I've already had my shirt spotted by a kid at the gas station. He was mind blown to find someone else here in MO.
Yay.
How young was this kid? How young was this kid? Anyway, okay, so we're gonna be reading more comments as we go, but wow, this hour is a racing by. You know what? Let's talk about Dr. Fauci. How about that? That'll be nice. Okay, Dr. Fauci was just on 60 Minutes, and we're getting a few little videos out of it of him confirming a little bit of what we've heard behind the scenes, including this first section where he talks about the White House attempt to sort of corral his exposure to the media.
During this pandemic, has the White House been controlling when you can speak with the media?
I think you'd have to be honest to say yes. I certainly have not been allowed to go on many shows that have asked for me.
One of the most trusted voices in America, and yet you're not there. You're not allowed to talk with us. So can you understand the frustration that maybe there's been a restriction on the flow of information, on transparency?
I think there has been a restriction, John, but it doesn't, it isn't consistent.
Consistent because he's speaking to a reporter right there. But yeah, we've heard from reporters saying that they haven't been able to book him in the past, and he's there confirming that that is a thing. So Francesca, I guess we've already known about this, but it is pretty significant that the most trusted Trump administration officials during an ongoing pandemic is being blocked from appearing on the media, as Trump is himself using supposedly Fauci's endorsement of him in campaign ads.
I mean, I think it's great to hear him say it out loud. I'm not discounting that, but I also think Fauci's still hedging here. I mean, I think somehow he's still afraid that he will be even further sidelined, which, if you think about, the possibility that Trump could win re-election is not a bad place to be. It's just scary. Like, I think we've all seen interviews with Fauci where he won't completely 180 criticize the president. I think in the hearings where he's sort of grilled by lawmakers, he'll be a little bit more honest. But even in those appearances, he's not trying to discredit this administration completely. He's trying to actually utilize his appearances to make sure that that Trump actually is still listening to him and like knows that he's in this, right? He wants actually to turn this thing around. But what I'm saying is it's scary is that it's very authoritarian type behavior when you are interviewed and asked point blank and you're like, yeah, I've been somewhat restricted. I don't think it's been full access to me. He's not openly saying, yeah, no, they tell me that I can't. So even just watching him tiptoe is very concerning.
Yeah, to the director, just the way the conversation's going. Can we skip to the third video in a second? We'll go back to the second after, but the third video about the Trump ad. Yeah, I get a little bit of the hedge too, but we've got a bit here that he's still somewhat hedging, but he's being willing to admit things about Trump that I'm a little bit surprised by. So let's go to that video where he talks a little bit more about being put non-consensually into these Trump ads.
Earlier this month, the Trump campaign released this television ad. It features what appears to be a glowing remark from Dr. Fauci on President Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic.
I can't imagine that anybody could be doing more.
Stunning.
Fauci says his words were taken out of context, but this week the ad continued to run in key battleground states.
I do not, and nor will I ever publicly endorse any political candidate. And here I am, they sticking me right in the middle of a campaign ad, which I thought was outrageous. I was referring to something entirely different. I was referring to the grueling work of the task force that, God, we were knocking ourselves out 7 days a week. I don't think we could possibly have done any more than that.
Did the steam start to come out of your ears?
No, it did. Quite frankly, I got really ticked off.
Yeah, it has to be a cartoon image. Anyway, so he's continuing to talk about the fact that Trump shouldn't have used him in the ad. That's not direct criticism of Trump's leadership or lack of leadership during the pandemic, but considering that the possibility that Trump could strike back against him, it's at least somewhat criticism, and we'll have more in a minute.
Absolutely. No, and he should be mad. Ticked off. I was really ticked off. I like Fauci, let's be real. Like, I'm not saying he should. I just think it's a really hard dance with this administration. I think he's done more than most. We know he's done more than Dr. Birx has. And he's also been summarily sidelined for that. I don't really know what else there is to lose. I mean, part of me is like, why wouldn't Fauci just do some like weekly Zoom meetings with the press, like, or daily Zoom briefings, just like, let's just do this. Let's talk about this. So I think there's way more to know in terms of how the coronavirus task force did or did not unfold. And I hope that come November, he can feel free to explain what had happened and also be able to shape and continue shaping our country's response since we don't have this pandemic nearly under control.
Yeah, especially because it doesn't seem impossible that Biden would keep Fauci on. I don't know why he wouldn't.
Why wouldn't he? Yeah.
It would feel a little bit like Bob Woodward. Like, dude, you have an opportunity. People trust you. I don't know if undecided voters are particularly going to be swayed by him, but like if there is more that how are you not coming out with it a couple weeks from the election, knowing what the stakes are in terms of the two different paths we could take in terms of the pandemic going forward, depending on who wins. I mean, the sheer number of lives that are at stake, it's at least tens of thousands, if not hundreds long term. I feel like he could be more forthright. But let's jump now into, we have even more back and forth between Trump and Fauci. And so I wanna start off with a little bit of, I guess, breaking news from this morning with Caitlin Collins, who was apparently getting information from a Trump campaign call that was happening this morning. There was a lot of interesting stuff in there. But one interesting thing was she says on call with campaign staff, President Trump says people are tired of hearing about coronavirus. Quote, people are saying whatever, just leave us alone. They're tired of it. People are tired of hearing Fauci and all these idiots. Fauci's a nice guy. He's been here for 500 years. It felt like a correction. I don't know for sure. I don't have the audio, but it felt like, oh God, did I just say he's an idiot? And so he called them idiots. Remember, this is the same Trump who just over the weekend said that if Joe Biden gets elected, he's gonna listen to the scientists. Sends a chill down your spine. And so he's talking about Fauci and all of these idiots. Nobody wants to hear from them. That's Trump's normal like projection. He doesn't want to hear from him. He hates how popular science is, let alone Fauci. And so he's lashing out at him on a call that he had already in the call said, if there are any reporters, I don't care, I'm telling it like it is. Like he knew there were people listening and he still was willing to attack Fauci like that.
And that's the thing, which is like, Fauci has been hedging a little bit and trying to sort of protect his status while being critical and honest. And let's say Trump does win re-election. Do you think Trump is gonna reward Fauci for hedging and continue to keep him on? No. They're going to triple, quadruple down on herd immunity, which is now their strategy, right?
Totally.
Which is infecting however many millions of us. And bye-bye Fauci. So like, I get, of course, he would not want to be part of a campaign ad, but it's also a little bit like, homie, like you realize there is only one choice for you and science and all of us surviving this, right? Or like, and that is Biden winning. Let's just be honest. So
let's go with a bit of that.
Yeah.
Because like we've been talking about the stakes for Fauci. If Trump wins, doesn't he fire Fauci? Like it feels like he hasn't fired him because it would look bad leading up to the election. So you think definitely, you know what? Let's poll it.
He's fine.
Fire if you think he's gonna fire. Keep on if you think he's gonna keep on. No, I feel like he's gonna fire him.
Yeah.
They'll come up with some BS excuse, something Fauci said that he didn't like, but they're gonna fire him because they don't care. They've got Scott Atlas. They've got the pseudo intellectual cover for their implicit herd immunity strategy.
Scott Atlas shrugged. Yes, Dr. Fauci was very unfair to Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election and mishandled her emails and what? Yeah, no, I've already said that. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Like that's, it'll be that. It'll just be that.
Yeah, 100%. Oh my God, I can't believe that was actually the argument about Comey. What a ridiculous sham in a period of ridiculous shams. Okay, so that was Trump this morning attacking him. I want to give you a little bit more from 60 Minutes because Dr. Fauci was also asked about the event that Donald Trump held, the fact that he ended up getting coronavirus. Let's go to that.
Were you surprised that President Trump got sick?
Absolutely not. I was worried that he was going to get sick when I saw him in a completely precarious situation of crowded, no separation between people, and almost nobody wearing a mask. When I saw that on TV, I said, oh my goodness, nothing good can come out of that. That's got to be a problem. And then sure enough, it turned out to be a super spreader event.
He looks so small and cute. Anyway, it's just funny. He's such a small little guy. Anyway, yeah, no, he's right. Yeah, it was obvious that Trump was inevitably going to get it. I assumed we would never find out. And remember, that was initially their plan, was to not reveal it in the first 24 hours or so. And they've certainly continued to hide information about exactly how it all played out.
Yeah, notice how we're not talking about it. I'm sorry, like the media clearly. What?
Well, I just was, but you're right.
No, I mean, you're right in terms of like, it's nice that Fauci's bringing this super spreader event up again. And obviously I'm just like, are we all just forgetting that half the Trump administration got COVID and he himself may still have COVID? Is that okay, cool. Moving on, yeah. Oh, another debate, tight, yeah. How? In what? Only in this ridiculous election world that America is forced into every 4 years, would this even be real? Like, it's just bad. It's all bad, and I want to know how Stephen Miller is doing. How's he doing?
Yeah, I guess fine. I guess they all got through it because again, they got the super secret. They pulled out of the vault. There was this thing they had to pull up and then steam came out and it was their secret monkey medicine and they got it and we're not gonna. That's just the way it works. They got Chris Christie through this thing. They should be able to save everyone. And I can say from my own family's experience, they weren't able to. They're getting special treatment. I'm joking about the monkey medicine, but it's special stuff that not everybody has access to. Anyway, yeah, so look, Trump's not gonna like that. Him saying, of course, he wasn't surprised that he got it, but yeah, who would? Like Trump is the guy who's going with Scott Atlas because he saw him on Fox News.
Yeah, and on that, John, reporters need to be asking if anyone who recovered who was sick in the Trump administration, how did you recover? What was that monkey medicine? Let us know, seriously. What was your regimen? Okay, did you pay for that healthcare? Tell us, we want to know. This is not over just because you're over the virus or the virus apparently has left your body, i.e. you're so jacked on steroids. Like, again, I know this is not the conversation, but like we should absolutely be asking those questions. Yeah. Fauci unleashed, baby. I want to see more of this.
Exactly. You know what? I really want to show the death threats to the director. If we could jump to the last Fauci video, just because it's on this being willing to criticize him, like just such an indictment of Trump's entire view of public health and masculinity and everything. Here's a last little bit from 60 Minutes with Dr. Fauci.
At all ironic that the president, who has not always consistently followed the advice of public health officials and scientists, seems to have been made better by science?
Well, I don't think it's ironic. I think it's fortunate that the president of the United States benefited from science. I think deep down he believes in science. If he didn't, he would not have entrusted his health to the very competent physicians at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center.
But at the same time, he hasn't worn masks consistently. He's pushed back against things you've said.
See, I think that's less an anti-science than it's more a statement.
What kind of a statement?
A statement of strength, like we're strong, we don't need a mask, that kind of thing. He sometimes equates wearing a mask with weakness.
Yeah, that means that you are weak because you're stupid and you can't be strong if you're stupid. That's my view. And he just admitted that. Again, it's another thing that, he could be far more critical of Donald Trump. And by he could, I mean there's room for it. And also, I'm sure he could. I'm sure he's got the information from those meetings and all that. He could talk about Trump talking about herd immunity. Like he could really drive home how little Trump cared if millions of people died. And he's not doing that, but he is being critical of Trump, his worldview, the way he sees strength and all of that. I don't think that Donald Trump is gonna like that if when the full thing comes out, it's as critical.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to your point about Bob Woodward and sort of withholding information if you have it, and or even back to 2016, sort of the ways that the Trump campaign was compromised, but by Russia, but Obama didn't want to sway the election, so he kept it to himself. We're kind of in that moment now where I think the pandemic and Trump's response to it is affecting voters, right? Perhaps more than any other issue this election cycle. And to say that, well, he doesn't want to appear weak. Well, Trump says that openly too. What's actually happening is he's deliberately misleading Americans, and he's deliberately misleading his followers. And he's doing this on purpose to score political points when they have nothing to do with science. And so why don't you say that, Dr. Fauci, right? It's like he said, well, I think he believes in science. Oh, okay. Because if he didn't, he wouldn't have let all these doctors work on him and suggest all these, therapeutic treatments for him. So, let's dig into that a little bit more. When else has he said that he believes in science, but he can't openly say he believes in science? Does he think you're real, Dr. Fauci, or are you just a figment of his imagination? Like when do you exist and when do you not?
That's good. I would watch a few minutes of that. Maybe not 60, but I'd watch a few. Okay, let's read a few super chats before we move on to our next topic. And I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking we're probably gonna have to save the no, I think Francesca's gonna like it. We'll go on with the way things are. Okay, John Oxford says, love everyone and everything unconditionally, including yourself. I can't necessarily go that far, but I like the thought behind it. Kai Allen says, hi guys, love Newsbroke this week, Francesca. Keep up the great work, you guys. You are so appreciated. Thank you.
Yay, Kai Allen.
Sean says, having a nice tall glass of bleach. Try not to get any on my hoodie. Fran days rock. Show me the undies, Dragon Daddy. Nope, never saying that again. Thank you, Sean, for never saying that again. Evelyn Lee Barney says, I will need a massive amount of wine and weed. I think that's for prep for election week. Sinful Solution says, fantastic Monday. Thank you. Nora says, all right, I'll buy the dragon shirt. I'm sold. Love you guys. Thank you, Nora. It's gonna look great. And Riley Jones says, first glass of wine down. Can we get some Francesca imitations? Drunk Piero?
Yes, for sure.
You gotta get some drunk Piero.
Oh, I've done Piero. I've never done drunk Piero.
That's just, I assume that's how you do a Piero, is you think drunk and Piero comes out. Ew.
No, she's much more soccer mom. But anyway, we've got another story to get to. Well, another time.
That's true. That's true.
Bonus episode, John.
Bonus, yes, only for Patreon subscribers. No, we don't have that. Anyway, okay, let's jump into our next story then, because as you said, there is a lot to get to. Oh, Mark Zuckerberg, you slimy little thing. So look, Mark Zuckerberg has given a lot of assurances about Facebook's commitment to objectivity, them caring about facts, but not being willing to fact check political ads. It's confusing. And I think it's intentionally confusing because the more we find out from Facebook employees, the more we find out that Mark Zuckerberg, a guy who routinely dines with right-wingers and seems to give massive preferential treatment in his own personal life to right-wing media outlets and figures over the left, turns out behind the scenes is kind of doing the same thing. So take a look at this amazing reporting. When Facebook tweaked its news feed algorithm back in 2017 to reduce the visibility of political news, the company's engineers intentionally designed the system to disproportionately impact left-leaning outlets, effectively choking off their traffic in the process. According to a Wall Street Journal report this week, Facebook bigwigs at the time were concerned about how these changes would affect right-leaning news outlets and wanted to avoid adding fuel to critics' arguments that the platform had an anti-conservative bias. So what did they do? They just biased it in the opposite direction. They evidently overcorrected. Facebook's engineers overhauled the update to affect left-leaning sites more than previously planned, and Mark Zuckerberg himself okayed the redesign, according to sources that talked to the Journal. The changes weren't aimed at any particular outlet, just apparently at the left. And so one of the sites the report cited as being negatively affected by this redesign was Mother Jones, a renowned investigative news outlet. In response to the Journal's expose, Mother Jones editorial director for growth and strategy, Ben Dreyfuss, wrote a scathing critique of Facebook that details years of frustrating and strained relationships with the company. He said that in multiple meetings with Facebook execs back in 2017 and 2018, he was assured that while publishers could expect traffic to lag after the algorithmic changes, it was, quote, not in a way that favored or disfavored any single publication or class of publisher, which I guess is technically true. But it definitely was affecting a sort of publisher, not just a class though. They were doing what the right wanted them to do. The right whines and cries about being biased against. And so Facebook just instead strikes out at the left to make the right feel better because the right whines way more than the left does. And apparently for years now, it has been affecting left-leaning news sites on Facebook. Francesca.
Yeah, I mean, I have personal experience with this with my work at AJ Plus, which began around, it began around 2013, but we really surged in the following years as Facebook was rolling out all their video. And 2017 was a complete and utter drop off. And AJ Plus is absolutely left leaning. I mean, we cover issues that affect people of color, indigenous people, women, like LGBTQ community. That's supposedly left. International news, etc. So I've seen the numbers, I've seen them myself, like one day to the next completely change. Facebook is incredibly opaque with their algorithm. And here's the thing, I'm tired of this being framed as, oops, we didn't know it was going to do that. No, they've said it for everything now. They've used this excuse. Oops, when we removed fact checkers, we didn't know it was gonna lift up fake news. Oops, when we changed our algorithm, we didn't really know it was gonna affect left-leaning sites more than right. Well, we did actually wanna affect left-leaning sites, but not to the degree that we did. No. All of this was absolutely on purpose. Whether or not it was the right that whined, it's the ears of Mark Zuckerberg that listened. It's the little bug-eyed Ben Shapiro worshiping weirdo bangs, alien-like form who stole an idea in order to rank women and then became a multi-billionaire that absolutely is swaying Facebook in the conservative favor because that's what he believes himself. So again, like let's take off the rose-colored glasses and let's be real. Mother Jones. Like AJ Plus and Newsbroke is one thing, because I'm biased, but it's all fact-based bias. That's what I say, fact-based bias. But Mother Jones is an investigative news outlet. What does that mean? It means you spend months reporting on one issue, digging deep, fact checking your sources, unlike the New York Post, right? Mm-hmm. And then you put out an expose or you put out a long series of articles. You have journalists who are covering an issue, for years. Oh yeah, that's left leaning. Yeah. Doing investigative journalism is somehow left leaning. Get out of here. I'm so done with their excuses. They don't deserve our business.
Yeah, I agree. And you can see the effect of this. Just check the daily posts on Twitter of the top 10 trending, where were the top 10 trending stories or posts on Facebook every day. And it's going to be, maybe you'll get a CNN or something, but the rest are gonna be Ben Shapiro and Dan Bongino and Donald Trump and all of that. And it's not because there's a lot more conservatives than there are liberals. There aren't. The numbers clearly show that. Yes, conservatives appear to spend the vast majority of their time on Facebook all day long, so that helps. And it certainly doesn't hurt that Mother Jones will do months to produce an article, whereas these ghouls just make up like lies that make people angry. Like they just come up with. Like Dan Bongino will just do a post about, Biden just said in an interview that he's going to, if he loses, he's going to invade the White House or something. No, it's not true, but it gets conservative fired up. And that will get 100 times the spread of that investigation by Mother Jones. So there's a lot of things that are influencing what works on Facebook. A lot of it is just the absolute horrid psychology of your average person. But they are doing everything they can at Facebook to benefit it. And it's not just Facebook. This strategy of continually moving the goalposts on the right by whining about shadow bans and all of that, as they are continually dominating that most shared metric. And it's not just because they're whiny babies. Yes, they're whiny babies, but it's a strategy and it's working, and it's been working for years. And I haven't seen anything from Mark Zuckerberg that tells me that they're gonna be changing anytime soon.
No, and the fact that after all of this scandal, Zuckerberg is still at the helm of Facebook tells you that he absolutely signs off on every single strategy that they have. He absolutely has known what is going on. And so it's like, at least have shame. Nah, the dude doesn't have shame. There are, Duterte is using Facebook to, like repress his own people in the Philippines. There's like endless amounts of examples, Brexit, thanks to Facebook, ban and Cambridge Analytica. Like, when is it enough? Like, when do we get off of it? When do we realize it's a cesspool? Y'all, it's the boomer parents. I know they're there, they're lovely.
Yeah.
But we need something else. We need an alternative. And I absolutely think that if and when we have some reining in of big tech, or we have nationalizing Facebook, which may or may not ever happen. But I'm serious. I mean, I do hope that we live in a world and a time when like an actual free market of ideas, not monopolies, can emerge, so that something else better and more concerned with your privacy and not 1984 in your brain could eventually emerge.
Yeah. A quick reminder, because we have a lot of other stuff we have to get to, but back in August, we talked about this back in August. A BuzzFeed expose talked to a Facebook employee about efforts to provide preferential treatment to right wingers. So you have the striking out algorithmically against the left, and then they had when Breitbart and Diamond Silk spread misinformation, the top level management at Facebook would step in to free their sites up from increased scrutiny. Because we can't expect them to be honest, but we want them to still get reach. So we're gonna step in every time they purposefully lie, and we're gonna protect them. That whistleblower was fired. So, I mean, I don't know how much evidence we need. Facebook is literally one of the worst things humanity has created, unfortunately. Okay, with that, let's read just a quick couple super chats and move on, because we do have more news. Let's see, I just saw. Okay, Forrest Dudley says, got ballots on Friday, turned them in Sunday. I live in Washington State, so not as crucial as a main swing state, but still voted. Washington is a mail-in state. Can't wait to fight Biden for 4 years instead of our glorious fascist leader. Forrest, thank you for voting. Thank you to everybody who's voting or getting ready to. Farsight says, Thunberg for president 2020. That's funny. I don't think it's gonna happen, but maybe. Farsight then said, AOC Sanders 2024. I don't think Sanders is gonna be running for president or vice president in 2024, but sign me up for AOC, I'm down for it. Guapo says, did John cover burning ballots and box in Baldwin Park, California? So no, we haven't talked about it as a story, although yeah, we should. So in Baldwin Park, there was a ballot drop box that someone intentionally set a fire inside of.
What?
I don't know exactly who yet. Obviously, the intent is to disenfranchise people. I don't know exactly where Baldwin Park is, but if it's in Baldwin Hills, obviously, that appears to be it's in, obviously. An estimated 60 to 100 damaged ballots were taken out. They're gonna apparently be trying to find the people whose ballots were damaged. Yeah, no, we understand everything about that. Yeah, it's devastating, and this election is gonna be fraught. Another reason to not consider it in the bag, no matter what the polls say. You gotta get out there and you gotta vote. Okay, Ghost Dog says, did you watch the Comey rule on Showtime? No, I haven't. I might at some point. I don't know. It seems a little bit weird.
I did.
Yeah, what'd you think?
It's not good. It's definitely not good. It is good for sort of refreshing like where, what happened and when, but it's definitely like trying to paint Comey, because it's based on his book, sort of paints him as this like hero, but it just it's very re-triggering. You're like, all of you are awful. Like Comey, you're the worst. In fact, you were the worst thing. I don't know why. What is it? Showtime is trying to redeem you here.
And I get it. Like, yeah, in the conflict between Comey and Trump, I'm on Comey's side, but I also don't like Comey. Yeah, it's difficult. I don't know. I heard that the Trump impersonation was pretty interesting. Maybe I'll see that at some point.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
Good. Well, and I would just love a different impersonation of Donald Trump. I've been watching SNL, and I don't want to see him anymore playing Donald Trump, and it doesn't seem like he wants to either. But anyway, over on Twitch, Snesley Wipe says, is that Leslie Nielsen interviewing Fauci? That's funny. He did look a little bit like him. I just looked it up. Leslie Nielsen died 10 years ago. That's sad. Growing up, I really liked him.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Mac Bain says, John, will the damage report get a rename next year? Hopefully under a new administration, something like the cleanup effort? No. We're gonna have a lot of problems next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. Whether Trump or Biden wins, there's gonna be damage. We're gonna continue reporting on it, I think. Maybe someday, maybe the last year of the second term of the AOC administration, we'll consider it.
It'll be like, good morning.
It'll
good
just
morning
be cooking segments.
It's a new day. Tis a new day with John Iadarola. We've got puppies and pancakes and democratic socialism.
It's just a wide shot from the corner of the room of me in a big pit of puppies. Just me and puppies and pancakes, puppies and pancakes, and that's it.
And Medicare for all.
And pedicures for all. But we're quite a ways away from that. Even for the puppies. Okay, with that, let's jump into last two stories. So let's jump into that. It was just like 2 weeks ago that a bunch of domestic terrorists were foiled, thankfully, in their plot to kidnap and I would assume inevitably murder Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, that they don't like because she instituted lockdowns. And Donald Trump, who technically could be like so proud of the FBI for doing their job here, instead is continuing to instigate people to despise her for the same reasons that those terrorists did. Here is a weekend rally in Michigan where he is taking part, at least in a way, in a lock her up chant about Gretchen Whitmer.
You got to get your governor to open up your state, okay? And get your schools open. Get your schools open. The schools have to be open, right? Lock them all up.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, they wanted to kidnap and murder Gretchen Whitmer because she wouldn't open up the state. And so he goes to that state and yells at the crowd saying she's got to open up. And then they say to lock her up, sort of like kidnapping. And he says, yeah, lock them all up. Just lock them all up. She was narrowly avoided being murdered by terrorists. And he goes to the state to instigate further violence against her. It's an amazing country we live in.
Yep. This is the mob that he, I mean, that it's the mob mentality of hearing that. It's like it would be a funny Simpsons episode if it weren't reality. I mean, all of this is a great Simpsons episode. In fact, it was, but we have to live in it. And that's a whole different thing. And you see the way he's sort of delighted by it. Lock them up. Yeah, lock them all up, you know? And it didn't have to be this way. I'm just like, I feel like this is the moment where you're like, yeah, man, this is what the Republican Party hath wrought. Trump is what it hath wrought. These mobs of extremists, militias, white nationalists, everything in between, QAnon nut jobs. Y'all hath wrought that, okay, Republicans? Seriously, and there's an easy way not to. Which is, again, not that he's a great person or was a great person, but John McCain being like to the woman who said, "Oh, Obama's a Muslim," and he grabs the mic and he's like, "Okay, he is not. He is not a Muslim who wants to destroy America. He's not Muslim. He doesn't want to destroy America. Whatever." Like, you can easily put an end to it and still be conservative. You could still be racist. You could still be all the things. But chanting "lock her up" or "lock them all up,"
yeah.
I mean, again, crossing the Rubicon here.
He could have, how many times have I said this during the pandemic? He could have taken this pandemic as an opportunity to actually be the strongman protector of America by taking it super seriously. And he could have gotten Democrats on his side. He could have gotten every Republican on his side. He could have gotten so much goodwill. He also could have saved 100,000 plus lives. That would have been cool too. He could have done all that. Instead, he decided to go the fascist strongman route of utter weakness and letting his people die in droves every single day. Weird choice. And inspiring more terrorism is just the cherry on the top of the fascist cake. I don't know the metaphor anymore. I don't care about metaphors anymore. Our country is in the toilet and Trump is sitting on that toilet. That's the issue. Now here's the thing. Trump going to Michigan to inspire more hatred towards the governor who narrowly avoided being kidnapped and executed by insane people is bad news for Donald Trump. I mean that literally. It could be a bad news cycle. So I'm gonna argue this is why his own campaign tried to get out in front of it by asserting that, oh no, he's not a bad guy for inspiring terrorists to want to kidnap Whitmer. Whitmer's actually the bad guy. Why? Get a load of this. So Gretchen Whitmer did an interview with Meet the Press, and in the background of the Meet the Press thing, she's got decorations, as we all do. We all are hoping to be rated by Room Rater and get a good rating. I didn't get one with my home studio. It makes me so mad to this day. But she had that little thing in the corner there. It says 8645. Do you know what that means? You probably do, but you're wrong. They'll tell you at the Trump campaign what it means because they tweeted out Governor Gretchen Whitmer displayed an 8645 sign during her TV appearance. 86 can be shorthand for killing someone. Whitmer is encouraging assassination attempts against President Trump just weeks after someone sent a ricin-laced package to the White House. Okay, so that's not what that means. That's not what that means at all. Do we have any waiters, any hosts, any expediters, any short order cooks? Anybody in the audience? You know what 86 means. It means you're out of something or you need to get something out of something. Even Wikipedia knows this. 86 is American slang which is used in the service of food and drink to indicate whether an item is no longer available or that an unwelcome customer should be ejected from service. Outside this context, the term is generally used with the meaning to get rid of someone or something, which makes 8645 sort of make sense. They want to get rid of 45. I don't think that Gretchen Whitmer is saying he should be assassinated. And if she was gonna do that, she wouldn't do it by putting something in the background that doesn't even mean that. That's a really bad way to inspire an assassination plot against the president. And Trump should know that since he's sort of inspiring assassination plots against her.
What he's doing there is he's justifying the assassination plots. I mean, and his team is justifying them. They're justifying the one that was there, that was foiled, of which there's video of them running like target practice and all this ridiculousness. And they're justifying future attacks. Well, well, you were gonna assassinate me first, so I had to assassinate you. Pre-crime, like what? It's. And so that's exactly what they're doing, and that's exactly what he's been doing. He's justifying all of this. I mean, I don't know what to chalk it up to, but I am like so horribly disgusted that after an attempt like that he and his campaign would still bark up this tree of violence. Like, leave it alone, bruh. Like, you're trying to get suburban women. This is like, a middle-aged suburban woman governor in Michigan. Like, give it a rest. Like, we know you hate women, but like to this degree, do you have to triple down on how much you hate them? Yeah. So it's disgusting on all levels, and it's flabbergasting to think that this would be a winning strategy.
Yeah, I assume it can't be, right? Like, yeah, the red hats love it. They'll chant lock her up. They want everyone locked up. They don't even know who. Name a person, they want them locked up. I get that. But I don't think that that's the winning strategy for independents, let alone suburban women. I mean, Gretchen Whitmer is not for me politically, but I assume suburban women in general probably are predisposed to like her. She seems reasonable enough, right? It's his entire campaign strategy. There's an article in, I think it might be the New York Times. I don't remember exactly. Actually, maybe Maggie Haberman was one of the two bylines on it today. And it was about the disconnect between the Trump campaign that he wants and the Trump campaign that has any chance of catching him up.
Yes.
And this is exactly, he loves it. And why wouldn't he? This is the strategy that worked for him politically in the only area where he was a political genius, and that was beating other Republicans in a Republican presidential primary. He knew how to appeal to the sickest, most depraved, most racist people and stand out amongst a group of people who are all uniformly pretty depraved and sick and racist. That worked there. It's not necessarily a winning electoral strategy in a general election.
I mean, this is why he hasn't denounced or disavowed Q, because like Q is his only hope. Like getting more Americans to believe that there is some underground satanic pedophilia ring in the Democrats and that they're trying to stop Trump, the almighty, all-seeing. Like, that's more believable than Trump being a good president. Like that, like that's better for him. So like that's his only hope, is to create more nut jobs, create more, Facebook like Facebook dwelling folks who click on random Q stuff, than trying to sell the American people on actually doing a good job, whether it's on the economy, on the pandemic, on literally anything.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want it anymore. But it's not gonna stop because his rallies are just, hey, these like refugees and lock her up. That's all it is, and it's sick. I don't like it. So let's turn to our last story, which is also sick, and I don't like it. But it does have a nice happy ending. We're gonna end on a positive note. That is not a guarantee that I will make every day or ever. But today we're going to. It's gonna start off a little bit rough though, so hold on to your butts. Over the weekend, Senator David Perdue had this to say about the vice presidential nominee, Kamala Harris.
And Kamala, or what, Kamala, I don't know. Whatever.
That was a joke, you get it? Because like he can't say her name. And he thinks that the idea that you should be able to say the name of a woman who's been in national politics for years and is literally the vice presidential nominee, being able to say that would be ridiculous. And he's not the only one. We're gonna have some other examples, but Francesca, he's a senator. He's running right now, and he thinks it's funny that she has a name that isn't David or John or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's mostly just sad. Like, good one, buddy. Like, you couldn't even like make a pun. You're just gonna mock her like we're in like 3rd grade or whatever. Like, you gotta level up if you're actually gonna like throw darts or something. Like level up the puns, or I don't know, figure something out. Like sing Kamala Chameleon. That's what I was doing early on. I think that works. I'm not making fun of her, but yeah, I mean it's low key racist. It's low key, against her Indian origin and ethnicity. What do you want? I mean, this is where we are. I do like this feels soft to me compared to everything else.
Yeah, that's true. For me, it's just a reminder of the casual, everyday nature of the racism. That audience wasn't appalled by that. They think, yeah, I don't want to have to learn that name. Give me a simple name. Like, no, if you can say Gregory, you can say Kamala. It's not difficult. It's basically the same thing. If you can say my last name, and admittedly, you probably can't because nobody can. If you can say Iadarola with all of this mess of vowels, you can say Kamala. And if you can't learn that after months and months, I got news for you. Your biggest issue perhaps is not that you're racist. It's that you're a moron. It really, like, you are delighting in your own ignorance. That is a really sad thing. Like, the content
Also,
is sad, the process is sad.
He should just follow. I mean, I just like would have loved to follow up and like, just for the record, how many people here voted for Barack Hussein Obama? Yeah. Oh, a lot of y'all, 2 times? Cool. Just making sure, like, come on.
Yeah, and look, if a random person who hasn't been paying attention to politics doesn't know exactly how her name is pronounced, okay, fine. But when they're corrected, how do they respond? That to me is the sign of being a decent human being. And not everybody can get it right. Let me give you a few examples of people who can't get it right. So a Purdue spokesperson pushed back on the interpretation that he was being racist about her name, saying, quote, Senator Purdue simply mispronounced Senator Harris's name. And he didn't mean anything by it. No, he didn't. He didn't just mispronounce it. He mispronounced it multiple times, and then he said Kamala Lala. That's joking about it. That's not simply anything. So not only was the response racist, they couldn't just admit, I got it wrong, and honestly, I'm not trying to disrespect the senator, so I'm gonna pronounce it correctly in the future. But it's not just him. You might remember a couple months ago, in August, in fact, we talked about a Tucker Carlson segment where Richard Goodstein, who was on, said her name is pronounced comma, like the punctuation mark, la, Kamala. And he was saying this because Tucker Carlson had repeatedly mispronounced it.
Right.
He went on, seriously, I've heard every sort of bastardization of her name. That's where Tucker Carlson breaks in and says, okay, so what? And he was like really mad that he had been corrected. He didn't want to be corrected about the pronunciation because the point of his show, the point of watching his show is to feel good about being racist. And in fact, after that angry response, Tucker Carlson went immediately back to mispronouncing it because he's either really racist or aggressively stupid or possibly both. And so this unwillingness to learn is a layer of idiocy on top of the racist predilection. Anyway, you want the positive bit to this?
I do.
And that is, you do. I'm gonna give it to you. So Kamala, which by the way, like I got issues politically with Kamala Harris. Kamala's a great name, isn't it? Like it sounds nice. It's good sounds. And a lot of these names that aren't John or Jimmy or Joe Bob or anything actually are kind of beautiful, both in terms of the name and also what they mean. And thankfully, the hashtag my name is sprung up, where individuals who have names that are probably repeatedly mispronounced, sometimes intentionally to mock them with racist and xenophobic flavor, decided to explain what their names mean. So Ilhan Omar says, Ilham, I prefer Ilhan. I never liked the M sound. It means inspiration in Arabic. My mother named me Ilham and inspired me to lead a life of service to others. In his honor, I am voting for an inspirational ticket over desperate and maddening one. So that's beautiful. Don't you love that?
That makes me like teary. That's like, I think every time I hear about, the squad's parents supporting them, I'm like, oh my God, that's where it started. I love you. I love you, Ilhan's dad, for doing that.
During, was it Breaking Down the House?
God.
When AOC talks about her dad, I was just bawling. And like, I lost my dad too, but like, I was just done.
Yeah.
But Ilhan's not the only one. Rashida Tlaib says, my Palestinian father named me Rashida. I love it, and it has a strong history in my family. It means righteous. That's right, righteous Rashida. I love that. Rokana, friend of the show, says Rohi, and my friends call me Ro. It means bright light in Sanskrit.
Oh,
don't you just love, like their names literally mean inspiration, bright light, righteous. Ayanna Presley says her name means beautiful flower in Swahili. She told me, talking about her mother, she told me I'd make history and the world would learn how to say it right. And her mom was correct there. These are beautiful names with beautiful histories, beautiful meanings. You are not made lesser or worse by caring to learn this. That's a good thing. We're lucky that it's not just a million Sarahs and Jessicas and Johns and all of that. Those are good names too, and they have meanings. We mostly don't know what they mean.
Do you know, actually, do you know?
To have others?
I mean, like, I'm surprised that he's not, embracing his own name's history, because Tucker in Gaelic means a pimple that's inside of your nose that you can't pop. It's the indoor nostril pimple. It's actually quite beautiful.
Okay, so what? So what?
Yeah, it's a tuque. And yeah, nose pimple, indoor nose pimple.
Can I give you a nose pimple? I'll give you a nose pimple. Let's go to our last video, because David Perdue and Tucker Carlson are not the only people that have a problem with this name. Donald Trump, admittedly a moron. This is his attempt at it.
By the way, you know who's further left than crazy Bernie? Kamala.
So that's 3 strikes and you're out. I think that's the rule. And he either doesn't know that, and she's literally running against him, or he does know that. And like, hey everybody, hey all my white fans, I know what her name is, but I'm not gonna say it because screw her. That's the message I get. And they love it. That's why they cheer for that stuff. They love purposefully mispronouncing people's names because they think that by virtue of their birth, their name is better and more awesome than any name that came out of India or Taiwan. Literally name a place. It's better if your name is John, I guess. I don't, and we're supposed to pretend that it's not racist. It's just so obviously, casually, purposefully, stupidly, self-defeatingly racist.
It's so racist that you're like, if you put a mic in that crowd, you're gonna be hearing a whole lot of epithets. You're gonna be hearing a whole lot worse than what Trump is saying on stage. Because the whole thing is still somehow hilariously coded. It's like, we're just gonna make fun of someone's name for being ethnic, and that's still kind of coded. We all know what you mean. And by the way, he's the president and actually can make good on his racism. So the border is, the border wall is going up. What does Donald mean, you guys? Donald is actually, it's a Latin origin, and it means diaper rash. That is exactly, just when you have a little too much chafing in there, and just it gets itchy, and it's diaper rash. That's a Donald. Ooh, I got a little Donald.
Have experienced it. We're all experiencing it right now.
We've got this chafe.
You're really fast. That's good and disgusting. Thank you for that. Really fast. Hashtag my name is. Let's go through, because you've got their names: righteous, beautiful flower, bright light, inspiration. Do you know what John means? I remember this from when I was a kid. It means God is gracious in Hebrew. That's by the way, that is the meaning of so many names. So many names just basically mean good God thing. That's all it means.
Yeah. God stuff.
Do you know what Francesca means?
Yeah. I had to Google it.
You did? Okay, what does it mean?
It means amazing and like wonderful and like super funny and cool.
That's true. It's so perfectly appropriate for you. It is. No, apparently it means the Frenchman. It's an Italian name, but it means.
Oh yeah, it means Frenchman or like free man.
Yeah, that's good. I'll take that.
I'm not really into
freedom prize. That's what it means.
Freedom
Anyway,
prize,
so yeah. Anyway, I like that it went in the direction. Great job with Ilhan, Rashida, and Rokana and Ayana and all of those for taking that direction. Anyway, we are way over. Francesca, the Frenchman, or beautiful, funny person, whatever it means. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, good steward of God.
The Lamb of God. That's what it means.
Lamb of God.
Where can we see more of your work?
Oh, yay. Follow me at Franny Fio on Twitter and Instagram. And please watch Newsbroke on AJ Plus and the Bitchuation Room as a podcast or on YouTube at Franny Fio as well.
Sounds good. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, John. Take care.
And for those of you at home, let's read a few more comments and super chats. Thank you to everybody who's been So supportive. Let's see. Franklin Sharpslicer says, waiting till November is like expecting a baby. Will it be ugly? Maybe, maybe. One thing is sure, Mr. and Ma'am, our little baby's gonna be an old man. In about a week, we may cheer or we may freak. I think that may be Franklin's best work. Great job, Franklin, thank you. Tone Stower says, can I just say that the fact that so many people would believe this Biden crap and QAnon makes me very sad with the state of humanity, depressing, totally. Let's see, Lifebeat says, inevitable dystopia. Is there any way to avoid America looking like the city in Kung Fury if Trump wins or Minority Report if Biden wins? Well, look, regardless of which of them wins, we're going to keep doing our job. That's what we're gonna do. That's all we can do. Ingenfair says, thank you for covering all these things. It's a crazy time, looking so much forward after the new year, and I live in Europe. Ingenfair, thank you. Keep yourself safe. Europe's getting a little bit of trouble with COVID as well. Okay, Jabiga says, am I overreaching by naming Dragon's Milk the official, unofficial adult beverage of the Dragon Squad? You know, it's funny that you say that because I'm pretty sure that's like Anna Kasparian's favorite beer, actually. And I remember liking it myself. Let's do that. Sid Graves says, aside from his integrity, Fauci needs to protect his family due to death threats provoked by Trump. Love you, Francesca and John, thank you. That was one of the videos we wanted to play, was that he has to have armed guards. Yeah. Neotub Ninja says, wait, I thought we were renaming it the Dragon Report. You know, I wish. No, when we don't have to worry about politics anymore, and this can all just be about fantasy TV shows and books, it'll be the Dragon Report. We're getting there, but we're still a ways off. Alex Toda B says, Ro Khanna sounds like a Jedi badass. Totally, I've said that before. It sounds like the perfect, awesome Star Wars name. And now we find out it's actually even cooler in its actual meaning. Tila Astorga says, my ex-nun mother with the maiden name of Kilchrist, Church of Christ, named me after an exiled beheaded priest that dared stand up to the church about their prosperity doctrine while people starve. That's awesome. That is an awesome namesake. I love that. Okay, Jenna Foster Hendrick says, Purdue's only in this to put more dollar generals in every corner. He doesn't want to help the people. I was very happy to vote against him last week. That's awesome. Well, if you haven't voted in that area, another reason to, perhaps. Okay, let's see. Over on Twitter, hashtag TDR Live, Kara Curley says something that I was thinking. We all learned Buttigieg. Exactly, it took me a few tries. I messed it up along the way, but we learned it. We can learn this. If you can learn Iadarola, honestly, you can learn this. Tom Zawaki says, maybe we could rename the damage report to the damage repair. No, but thank you. I appreciate the idea, but nah. Okay, let's see. Sanuji over on Twitch says, Franny, Emma, Anna, and Brooke, Fall Guys stream for Halloween, please. That's awesome. I don't think all of those people would sign on, but that does sound awesome. Okay, Sexy Melly B says, can I just say how sick it is that these people brought their children to these events with them? 100%, but they believe that they're totally safe and nothing will ever happen to them. It's sick the way that they've been lied to and have continued to lie. Tom Twiddell says, will there be a live broadcast election night? Yes, I believe there will be all day. We've got a lot planned. We're gonna have, we'll announce as we get closer. We got a supersized TDR planned as well as, no, we're gonna be going. So hold on to your butts. Get ready, because it's gonna be a big thing. Let's see, Githika, it might be Gatika. I apologize if I mispronounced it. It is new to me, but I care to pronounce it correctly. That's an important distinction, I hope. It says, my name means a small song. I just got the book, Your Name is a Song, for my Indian American 1-year-old cousin. Thank you for talking about this. Thank you, that's beautiful. Yeah, why wouldn't you wanna know these names and what the names mean? Why wouldn't you wanna learn, honestly? And I'm saying that to literally everyone about literally everything. Why don't you want to learn? Anyway, thank you for watching this and hopefully either learning or at least wanting to. We got a lot of big plans this week. Hopefully special co-host, first time ever co-host of the show coming up later this week. I don't want to announce it for sure because we haven't finalized the timing yet, but hopefully that'll happen. And if not, lots of other stuff. I think we have a debate actually, so prepare yourself for that. And thank you for joining me on this first show of the week. I will see you tomorrow. And until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. See you soon.